Hi, I'm Kina Robertshaw, and this is Conversation with Christian Entrepreneurs. Today I'm joined by the Managing Director and the co-owner of the Rooflight Company in Oxfordshire. A warm welcome to you, Val. What does your company, Rooflight, do?
Our company is a designer and manufacturer of roof lights. So we started off with the conservation roof light, which was designed by my husband. So specifically for heritage buildings like the Natural History Museum and Somerset House, but also and mainly residential projects. So listed buildings and buildings in a conservation area. And then we, because we like innovating, we have developed many other products for the flat roofs as well as other products for pitch roofs. So we have a fantastic variety of people. We have people who make our roof lights, and then we have people who are designing our roof lights, and then we have all the other usual functions in a manufacturing business. So a great variety of nationalities and different types of people.
How did you get involved in the business?
So I came from a corporate background. I worked for Pilkington and BOC, and my husband, who is an architect, said to me one day about, 15 years ago, maybe longer, he said, "I hate doing this. I'm not a businessman, I'm artistic, I love designing, and I don't want to do this anymore." So that's how I came into the business. I decided that I could, something I wanted to do. I'm really interested in business, and so that's how it all started.
You have a faith. What impact does your faith make?
I think it's grown a lot more deeply over the years. When I first came into the business, I really felt that the two were not really joined together. I think that it has grown much more deeply, and the difference that I believe that my faith brings me is on a couple of areas. There's the day-to-day business of interacting with people, how we actually behave. And the values that we have in our business, we have behaviours for each of the values. Now, they weren't all my idea, but I think that the importance of them to me is so huge that if I didn't have that conviction, then they couldn't really be integrated into the company. But fortunately, I have a great team around me who believe in them as well. But the Christian side of it is also this determination to make sure that the people in this business come together to create something special, so that it's not just a matter of turning up for work and making money. That is soulless. That doesn't have any soul. What I believe is special in business, and potentially is possible for every business, is for the idea of people coming together, enjoying their work, getting fulfillment out of their work. And I think that especially now there's a lot of fear. I think that a lot of people in business, from the most senior to the most junior, a lot of them are fearful, and they fear letting other people down, letting themselves down, letting their families down. And I was talking about this before, that some of the big bosses, for example, have antlers that they want to show to everybody, but it's important to show vulnerability as well as that sense of strength too. And my faith basically gives me that, because underneath it all, we know what's important as Christians. We know that in a business, making money is something you have to. It's important to not forget that. In a business, if you've got a business of people of unhappy people, then that's nothing, and it would be better if the business did not exist. But the fact that my faith keeps me stronger and makes me braver in terms of my decisions, in terms of the way I interact with people, when I know what is important and what's not important. So every day I make small decisions, and then sometimes I make big decisions, and my faith informs me in the right path and gives me the direction to go. I can't imagine not having that now. I can't. But when I started as a business person, that really wasn't the case.
You talk about values. Could you just tell us a bit more about these values?
So the values are, we have 4 of them, and these were formulated by myself and the leadership team, and then by the managers. So we looked at different values as we explored what was important to some people and not to others. The one value that I wanted to make sure that we did have in the company was care, because I equate the way that we interpret care as Christian love, not how can I put it? If the care value wasn't there, I felt that would have been something missing for me personally. And one of our behaviours is to show active interest and compassion for others and respect. So I think that's a deep Christian value. If we all do that all the time, then the world would be a wonderful place. So that behaviour is really important to me. And we have 3 behaviours for each of the 4 values.
Okay.
And we actually audit those behaviours, and we every 6 months, in fact I did this last week with our operations director, we have an audit of what's working well. So is it just right? And you would expect senior managers, you'd hope that most of them were just right, but there might be that there's something that they excel at, something that they're really exemplary, or there's something that they're struggling with. And so when I went through with Steve, we basically agreed. So I asked him to think what is he struggling with in terms of a behaviour, and then we discussed that. So it means that the expectation for everybody in the company, this is everybody, is that they adhere to the behaviours as best they can. And we actually have a process that allows us to do that.
How do you deal with staff who are not willing to buy into these values?
We have a values team. So it's not all just top down. We have a values team that is voted by all the members of staff, and there are 4 people. So they help to understand what's going on in the company. And so, for example, I asked them. I felt there were a lot of people who just weren't getting one particular or 2 particular behaviours, and that was about accountability. We hold each other and ourselves accountable. So I asked them, what can we do to reinforce that in the company? And they came up with this. They came up with, I can't control anyone else, but I can control myself. And they communicated that very beautifully, in fact, throughout the company. And then we have these posters everywhere. So that was an example of somebody who's not necessarily senior actually helping to inculcate that in the business. And then we also asked them to think about how can we empower people when sometimes they're not as well informed as they might, so they make the wrong decision, and then they came up with keep calm and ask questions. When people, you asked the question about when people are not living the values, because of this audit, we can actually address that much more quickly, and we have monthly one-to-ones. So if a manager is noticing that somebody is not living the values, then they have a framework in which to base some tough questions. It's not easy, but everyone is trained on coaching. So rather than being judgy about it, they say, right, I've noticed that this has happened. Talk me through that, and then they can hopefully help that person to overcome the problem that they're exhibiting, or the behaviour that they're exhibiting. Sometimes it can be that somebody in the company, they're not happy, we're not happy, they're maybe in the wrong job, they're maybe in the wrong company, maybe they just don't get it. And it was particularly important to me this year when things were not going well. And so that was we had redundancies, it was very difficult, people were behaving badly, I was getting very annoyed at people. And in March, I still remember in March, I got up in the morning and I went to run with my dog along the Thames, which is what I do about 4 times a week. And something just happened. And it still feels, as you can tell, quite emotional. But it was as if I had to change how I was. I had to change my behaviour, because if I was in a funk, in a negative funk, then nobody in the company was going to get out of the funk. You know, it's up to the business leader to show by example. So as a result of that, I presented we called it the green shoots communication, where we started to see some hope, and it was important for me to show hope. Now, I don't think I could have done that without being Christian.
You said earlier that your faith has developed over the years. What are some of the things that have helped your faith develop?
Faith in Business Conference has been a real inspiration, but also the things that I've learned there. So it's funny when I go to that conference, which I've done every year for the last I don't know how many years. I think, well, what have I learned? What have I learned? I've written things down, but it's more about the osmosis that happens at those conferences, where it's not actual facts that you learn that are important, it's the feeling and the emotions that come from that, sharing your concerns and beliefs and happy things with others, and understanding their challenges as well. But then learning that there is a different way to doing business, and it's not just me who's being crazy and or naive. Sometimes I think maybe I'm not ambitious enough, for example. I could take more risks, but then that would put people under more pressure and strain, because that, when you have a company with aggressive growth, for example, that puts everyone under a lot more pressure. And so those are the kind of things that go through my mind when I've been to a conference.
Val, thank you very much. To me, you are such an inspiration. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time on Conversation with Christian Entrepreneur.